about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So happy Independence Week. We're coming into 4th of July weekend, and we got a lot. I got to tell you, the news is there's a lot coming out of the White House with Biden, medical issues we'll talk about. But I want to start out with fireworks safety because I'm blown away at how the statistics have been skyrocketing. I mean, doubling, almost tripling every year in terms of firework injuries. And firework safety should be, it should be old hat. We should already, and mind you, the laws have gotten more and more restrictive as it pertains to fireworks. So I don't understand why the numbers keep going up in terms of injuries. So this is one of the most spectacular holidays of the year. We are so grateful for our freedom, for our independence, and we should sing it loud, sing it strong. For those of you who want to sing the Star Spangled Banner that don't have the voice for it, I will teach you tomorrow again how to do that. I don't have a good voice, and I was able to get through it. Check my YouTube channel on tips to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Also, it's a little safer than fireworks, but fireworks fascinatingly have their origins back to China in 200 BC. Apparently, they would roast bamboos, which would explode with a bang when heated because there were these hollow air pockets. They used to do that not for America's 4th of July because it was 200 BC, but to ward off evil spirits. Then Chinese alchemists between 600 and 900 AD started to add some saltpeter, potassium nitrite, and charcoal and other things. And then they began stuffing things into the bamboo shoots that would cause a louder blast. And these are how the first fireworks were born. On July 3rd, 1776, John Adams penned a letter to his wife suggesting fireworks, illuminations to be used the day before our Independence Day. And then the following year, fireworks were used in Philadelphia's celebration of Independence Day along with the parade. So I think the first parade was in 1777. So which fireworks are legal, illegal? Check your states, okay? Massachusetts, I think, is the only state that bans any individual from owning or setting off fireworks. Other states, it may vary. Your party poppers, your smokers, your handheld sparklers, your wheel, your ground spinners, those approved by the Consumer Product Safety Commission are approved. But illegal fireworks like your rockets, your Roman candles, your wire, your wooden sparklers, anything projectile, anything using arsenic, phosphorus, thiocyanate, and gunpowder, illegal. So fireworks hurt, and back in 2021, I think about 14,000 individuals. Now it started about 14,000 fires. In a year, it went up to 31,000 fires. So in 2022, which is what we have the data from, 31,000 fires, 3,500 structure fires, 887 vehicle fires because of fireworks, 24,492 outside and other fires. But 44 people got injured and there were $109 million in direct property damage from the fires. From emergency room visits for fireworks, 10,200 people hit the ER in 2022. That was ridiculous. Half of those injuries were your extremities, your arms and legs. 35% included the eyes and the head. And children younger than 15 accounted for almost 28% of the injuries. And so this spike in firework injury means we really need to kind of have a conversation about it. One of my nephew's cousins had a sparkler, popper, had ricocheted off the ground. Legal firework, hit his eye, burned his cornea. He's blind in one eye. So this hit home. And as a physician, I can't tell you how many times I see burns, and these sparklers could reach 2,000 degrees. You got to be careful. You have to understand that burns, eye injuries, facial injuries, hearing loss is also an issue we see. Lacerations, broken bones, sprains, even car accidents. So first and foremost, do not purchase or use illegal fireworks, okay? Don't allow young children to handle them. Don't drink alcohol if you are managing the fireworks. Use neighborhood areas that are not in the flow of traffic and also don't have a lot of trees and shrubbery. You need fire extinguisher and buckets nearby. Have the bystanders, if you're doing the legal ones on the street, to step back, maybe block off, make sure that cars aren't coming. Do not relight a firework. Get the pets out of there. The pets will love to chase. I know my cats will chase a sparkler or chase a popper. Don't let them do that, okay? Keep the pets away. I know the dogs like to watch, but the dogs do not like the fireworks. In fact, your animals are not going to like it the next coming days because of the sounds. Don't carry unused fireworks in your pockets. That is a bad move. Don't kick. I had to take care of a patient in the ER who blew off all his toes of his foot because there was a little bit of firework powder and he decided to kick it off the sidewalk, and that caused enough friction for it to explode and blow off the toes of his foot. Don't shoot fireworks out of metal or glass casings. Don't be taking your bong and doing stuff with it. Not funny. Maybe just watch a professional fireworks show. I think that's safer. Another thing, don't use hand sanitizer. A lot of you are like, ooh, that's dirty. Does anybody have any soap or here's hand sanitizer. Do not use hand sanitizer if you're going to be near fireworks. It's flammable. There's alcohol in hand sanitizer. That's a big no-no. We've talked about this every year. That is an absolute big no-no. Always have some soap and water nearby because you will get residue. So I don't want to be a party pooper. I mean, fireworks, I love watching fireworks. One most fun things to do. I live in Southern Nevada, so oftentimes we get to see the fireworks across the whole valley or on the strip. A couple years ago, it was really nice. We had a really good fireworks show, and then last year, I don't think they did much. It was kind of weak. I'm not really sure what happened last year. And so if I find out where there's some pretty decent fireworks shows, but look them up. I think it's much more enjoyable to take a couple lawn chairs, grab some water. It's hot. Grab water, enjoy yourselves, but understand that, yes, it could be pretty dangerous. What's nice about 4th of July weekend is Friday for many people are off. I'm still going to do a live show, but so hopefully people aren't racing to get home to go to sleep. Happy 4th of July, people. Don't go away. We got a lot to talk about. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen, and big thanks to Daniel, our producer. So yesterday, Karine St. Pierre had done a press briefing at the White House. Karine Jean-Pierre had done a press briefing. She handled her own. She handled her own. It was not easy. She does a pretty good job considering, what she has to deal with. But of course, a lot of questions have surrounded Biden's ability to still be president and his cognitive abilities. And I'm kind of a little shocked. I'm watching CNN yesterday, and they're like, he needs a cognitive test. We've been saying that for years. We said that before the last election. We said that while he was vice president. Only now, which, by the way, the psychology of that is fascinating. Why for years, liberal media wouldn't entertain that concept, and now all of a sudden they're talking about it. Are they talking about it because, okay, well, that's now the news cycle. And so now they want to get hits and they have to look like they're talking about it. But, as a physician, I find that pretty sad, because when you have somebody who's possibly flailing and needs help, now you're only going to talk about it when it's opportune. It's like only now you're starting to hear CNN and other places talk about it. Come on. Well, so Karine Jean-Pierre, and I have to say kudos to her. It's not easy being in her position, and I think she's even doing a better job than Jen Psaki. She's very, very likable, and she is she's well prepared, but she doesn't have the answers she needs to calm everybody's fears of our commander-in-chief not being adequate for the job. And I knew what she was going to say before she said it. When people asked, is he going to take a mental status exam? Is he going to take a cognitive test? And I knew her answer was going to be this, and it's exactly what she said, that the medical team, Biden's medical team, does not feel a cognitive test is warranted. Now, that's her job. That's her role, to express what the medical team or what the Biden team wants her to express. But as a physician, my question is, where's the medical team? Many of you had after that reached out to me going, okay, whoa. If doctors are saying a cognitive test is not warranted, when is it warranted then? And, so my definition is if a person could be of harm to themselves or others, first and foremost, without their being witnessed, without them feeling that they have an issue. The number one rule is, could they be a harm to themselves or others? By harming yourself, meaning accidentally taking the wrong medication, taking your medication twice, forgetting your medication, forgetting, to put a coat on, wandering, not protecting yourself from the sun, and then harm to others if they're driving other individuals in the family, if they're running the country. So already, based on that definition, if they could be of harm to themselves or others, you do a cognitive test. Remember, the president has to be always safe. The president's life comes first. That's why we pay for that's why we pay for Secret Service. And so you would think the medical team would be the first one to say, let's do it. Also, from a PR standpoint, wouldn't you shut everybody up if he passed the test? Do have an independent exam? Pass the test. Now, it's very suspect when his team won't run it. Now, what is the government's definition? What is the NIH's definition of when to do a cognitive test? So, according to the NIH, people should be assessed for cognitive impairment if the individual, family members, or others express concerns about changes in the person's memory, thinking, or behavior. Well, we already satisfy that. Now that's already satisfied. You have a country concerned? I am sure his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, if she cares about him, should be concerned. I think staff should be concerned. Your voters, I already, so you already have the top two reasons, especially one provided by the government, satisfied to do cognitive testing. And it's not going to happen. And so, Karina had said that the reason why the debate, because they were really going after his one debate performance, which I still think is a little comical because, it really finally took the debate for everybody to finally be talking about this. Come on, we've been talking about it for years. Oh, it's misinformation. It's misinformation. And in fact, Karine Jean-Pierre said that any of our discussions about his freezing and all that is misinformation or cheap fakes, and she doubled down on that. So was the debate a cheap fake? Now, it's sad that it took the debate to finally get these other news agencies and reporters to ask about it. And she said that he had a cold and that it was a bad night. Now, when you are commander-in-chief, you can't have a bad day or a bad night. Now, okay, you could be grumpy. You could have menstrual cramps. You could have some acid reflux. That happens. But you still need to be able to do your duties. If you can't perform a simple debate, then how do we know if you are also able to perform the more complex commander-in-chief duties? And the other thing, too, I would respond, and again, no offense to Karine Jean-Pierre, she is, she has a tough job, and I think she does her job very well considering the restrictions they put her under. But, my answer to her would be nobody should have a bad debate or a bad night on debate night if their policies were strong. And if they executed their policies well, there'd be no debate. Border secure, economy strong, healthcare, for healthcare foundation, infrastructure great, electrical grid strong, crime down. If he doesn't have anybody is, it doesn't matter how good a speaker you are, how eloquent you are. If you have bad policies, if you can't do your job, well, then yeah, you're going to fail at the debate. But he could have very easily handled the debate well if he had, because that's what Jean-Pierre had said. She said, look, his record, don't look at his debate performance, look at his record. His debate performance wouldn't have been so necessary if his record was that robust. And the problem Biden has is his fans and his supporters are supporting him not because they love him, but because they're anti-Trump. And I told you guys this, the Democrats are going to struggle if they don't have another reason. You can't win elections and win support being the anti-other candidate. People's dislike for Trump is not going to be enough for Biden. The Democrats have to do something, have to have something more to show for it. And so, unfortunately, that's a struggle. And so the idea, well, he had a bad night. He wouldn't have had a bad night if look, that the latest Houston girl, the 12-year-old girl who was found in a Houston creek strangled. It has been confirmed that she was sexually assaulted, and 2 illegal immigrants have been arrested. Okay, this is what is on people's minds right now. Groceries are high. The threat that we have to get an electric car soon when we can't even afford groceries. Our border crime, small business shutting down, neighborhood stores shutting down because of crime. These are things that people, and he could have very easily said, look, I have a cold, but look, border secure, this is secure. But he couldn't say that. So instead, I don't know who told him to rat off all these other numbers, so he mixed up millions and trillions. It was a bad look. And so when a medical team is saying, no, cognitive tests not needed, okay, now that starts to put that, okay, they could be in trouble with the medical board. Okay, a doctor has to put the patient first. What Biden's medical team needs to come out and say is, we would like to. We think that is a very comprehensive part of this 81-year-old physical. And if there is any concern We have no problem doing that. These doctors need to save their licenses. The doctor should come out and say, absolutely. Let Biden take it. Biden might pass it. But if he doesn't, then the country could move forward. Then he could move forward. If he needs care, if he needs, some of these medications that we use for early dementia, although his might be a little bit more advanced, it won't be withheld. Because the White House is trying to be transparent about his medical history. It's not transparent when you leave stuff out and you don't treat him for something. It's called negligence. That's why there's all this talk about elder abuse. It's negligent if he doesn't get treated for what he needs to. And our country is demanding that we have better representation and we have more transparency. It's just, I'm a little blown away that it took this long and it took the debate. I thought it was pretty obvious before. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I happen to think foxes and puppies and coyote pups are kind of cute. Wild pigs, little baby wild pigs. Do not go up to them and go, coochie, coochie, coo. Stay as far away from them as possible. They could be pretty dangerous. And in fact, the one Alabama woman was bitten by a rabid fox while she was unloading groceries from her car. This is being reported as a public health threat. The Atmore woman was reportedly holding a loaf of bread when out of nowhere she was attacked and bitten by a fox, according to the Alabama Department of Public Health. She was described as older. She did receive post-exposure vaccination treatment to help prevent rabies. But the fox was taken to the Alabama Department of Public Health Bureau of Clinical Laboratories. It was tested and confirmed positive for rabies. Rabies is deadly, and it is extremely, extremely dangerous. And this was a rabid fox. So pets and animals, you would think, okay, they're just going to do their own thing. They're going to stay away. Not when they're rabid. When they're rabid, they have infection in the brain, and they're a lot more aggressive. So an animal who's rabid may actually go where an animal doesn't normally go because they are in pain and aggressive. According to Alabama's public health veterinarian, Dr. D.W. Jones, although rabies is primarily found in wild animals, or since widespread vaccination of domestic animals began over 70 years ago, it continues to be a public health threat. I think it is, so they're saying it's primarily found in wild animals as opposed to domesticated animals because we've been vaccinating domestic animals. So wild animals may still be exposed, not to mention your domestic animals that are not up to date on their vaccines. They say attacks such as this by rabid wildlife are uncommon, but it highlights the risk rabies continue to pose and hopefully reminds people to be aware of the risks and continue to vaccinate their pets. One concern is that you could possibly get rabies from your pet that gets bit when they go outside to go potty, things like that. In Alabama, according to Fox News, owners of dogs, cats, and ferrets 12 weeks of age and older are legally required to keep their pets up to date on rabies vaccination. And I'm a fan of that. I am a fan. They also recommend people not allow their pets to run loose, to properly dispose of any food scraps, refrain from feeding or keeping wildlife as pets, avoid animals that are behaving strangely, and keep children away from stray or wild animals. The second you are bit or scratched, you have got to get to the health department. 60,000 Americans receive medical care following a potential rabies exposure each year. Now, some of you have been calling telemedicine. Do I need to get vaccinated? Do I need to? Usually with telemedicine companies, we're going to tell you to go in and get seen. Most telemedicine companies cannot handle you're being bit by an animal and verifying rabies status. Another thing also is people will say, I was on a trail or I was jogging, a dog bit me, and the owner was there, and the owner says, oh, yeah, they're good. They're up to date on their shots. Do you want to take their word for it? How many owners during COVID regularly took their animals in for routine grooming, teeth cleaning, medical care? Many didn't. Many people aren't even going to the doctor for themselves. I see patients who have not seen a doctor since 2019. And you're going to take some random stranger's word for it that their pet is vaccinated. Their pet bit you. Their pet scratched you. Now, animals may do that. Some animals may be aggressive, but how do you know it's not rabies? Now, somebody had asked, well, what if they actually are holding the documentation, or they show you a picture, or that's nice, but I would still go and get it checked out because maybe they can't afford to take them in, or maybe they filled out, you could get these cards online. I hate to be pessimistic about, human behavior, but I think people lie. Look how people lied about the COVID vaccine. They didn't want to get it. They got a hold of cards. They filled it out themselves. And they did that because we had these stupid mandates. I'm not justifying it. That's still wrong. It's still unethical to have a false vaccination card. But that's what people were driven to. So people can falsify cards. So rabies can be 100% fatal unless you get the blocker to block the rabies from expanding. Each year we hear in my neck of the woods, I live in Nevada, that there's bats that are found. I think 10 to 20 cases a year, according to the Animal Disease Laboratory, when bats are most active, May through October. So this, if you live in an area where there's no foxes, you still have coyotes or bats. If you live in the Southwest, if you live in the Northwest, there's still wild animals around us. And so, rabies is a virus. It's not a bacteria, it's a virus. And it gets transmitted through a scratch or a bite. There was a young lady who was playing with a puppy in a box. There was, I think, a rescue puppy in a box. And the puppy was playful and nipping at her, and she got scratched a little by the little puppy that was playing. She ended up dying of rabies because that puppy had rabies. So even a scratch, anything that breaks the skin. Dogs are the most common animal to transmit it to humans, but bats, coyotes, raccoons, skunks, jackals, mongooses, foxes can also. The animal will be agitated, foaming at the mouth due to hypersalivation. The virus may cause you to hypersalivate. And that's why in cartoons you saw the dogs with the googly eyes and the foaming at the mouth. The virus prefers the central nervous system, including the brain. That's why it could be fatal. So once exposed, the infected saliva enters your peripheral nervous system. So the little nerves in your arms or legs, then it travels into the muscle. It replicates in the muscle. That's why you might get achy. And then it works itself up the tract of the nerves all the way to the brain. The incubation period could be anywhere from a few days to years. The average incubation period of rabies can last a few weeks. There was a kid who was very, very ill, And the doctors didn't know what was going on. They thought he had meningitis. They weren't sure what's going on. And then finally it was discovered that a few weeks back, he had found a dead bat and apparently was touching it. And that's how they decided, whoa, we need to check him for rabies. Oftentimes you don't know you're sick. When you do start to feel sick, the prodrome, you could have pain at the site of the bite, muscle soreness, fever, headache, anxiety, malaise, nausea, vomiting, sore throat, cough, numbness, tingling, burning. These symptoms can last anywhere from 2 to 10 days. Then, when the virus has time to start to get to the central nervous system, you start getting anxiety, agitation, insomnia, loss of sex drive, prolonged erections. Don't get excited. That's not good. Hallucinations, photophobia, where light bothers your eyes. You could start having muscle rigidity, muscle twitching, difficulty swallowing, difficulty breathing, paralysis, convulsions, seizures. But very interestingly, you're going to fear water. Hydrophobia can be a major symptom. We use this on the boards to test students. Somebody has arm pain, some stiffness, and hydrophobia. What do they need to be tested for? Rabies. People with rabies fear water. A coma could set in within 2 to 7 days, and then unfortunately, you could die. So for treatment, what we do is we give injections of immunoglobulin to try to bind and prevent the virus from replicating. Then 4 to 5 vaccines are given over the next 2 weeks to help stimulate the immune system. Wild animals will be euthanized. They're not going to mess around. Domesticated animals, where we aren't really suspecting rabies, we're not going to kill them right away. They're going to observe them for 10 days. So isolate them and observe them. If they don't elicit symptoms, then most likely they don't have rabies. So prevention, avoid wild animals. Don't be petting. And if an animal's coming after you, get away from them. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOC-DALI. All right, so many of you are about to travel for the holiday weekend. Please be very, very careful. Right? We got a couple news stories. One is 40 people were injured, some of them severely, after an Air Europa flight experienced some heavy turbulence. It had to be diverted to Brazil. And apparently this flight was from Spain to Uruguay. And it experienced such strong turbulence that there was blood on the seats. People were thrown into the overhead compartments. And it was flight UX045. It experienced heavy turbulence early Monday morning. It did, thank God, land safely at Natal International Airport in São Gonçalo del Marte, according to the airline. But they had to request an emergency landing at 2:32 a.m. local time. 30 people received medical care at the airport. 10 had to be transported to the hospital under further examination, being reported by ABC News. And you see disarray, broken seats. 7 passengers, from what I understand, have remained hospitalized in serious, but thank God, not life-threatening conditions. And when you look at passenger videos, it showed damage to the cabin of the plane, injured passengers in neck braces lying on their backs in the aisle. One man was dangling from an overhead compartment. Not sure how he got up there and why he was still stuck. But passengers apparently were hurled toward the ceiling of the cabin. If you were wearing your seatbelt, you were okay. Now, the flight had departed from Madrid Barajas, was en route to Carrasco International Airport in Montevideo, Uruguay, and when the incident occurred. And Natal is the closest airport where the passengers' medical needs could be addressed. That was some pretty bad turbulence. And unfortunately, sometimes that's not very predictable. And there were 325 passengers at the time. You know, I once flew a flight without being seatbelted. I don't know how I forgot. I think I was dealing with my kids, and I got distracted. And I noticed when I went to take my seatbelt off, whoa, always check to make sure your seatbelt is on. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know you can't lie down and sleep. But you know, you're up in the air. There's sadly some, drops that can happen and bumps and so just wear your seatbelt. It's uncomfortable. I get it. These flights are not comfortable. But and it's interesting because on trains and other things, you see people not buses. They're not wearing seatbelts. That just get used to it. Now, another issue happened yesterday where a flight, did you guys hear about this? Where apparently a Delta airline had to divert because people fell ill because of spoiled food. A Delta Airlines flight was diverted to New York City when passengers and crew, including pilots, were served moldy chicken. Nancy Kirchhoff, 65 years old, according to Daily Mail, was on an Amsterdam-bound flight with her husband when they had to make an emergency landing at JFK. The pilot announced they were turning around because of some type of food issue and people were sick. Some saw mold on the chicken. I asked if anyone had gotten sick, and they told us no one had been affected, but both the pilots ate the chicken. So there is no way you're going to take a chance of allowing that plane to do a multi-hour flight if, they have a chance of vomiting diarrhea. Medics met the plane after it landed at JFK, provided aid to 14 passengers and 10 flight crew, all of whom declined to receive medical attention. Now, somebody had asked, would they get sick that quickly? If it's food poisoning and there's a toxin, the toxin can cause an immediate reaction. So when somebody said, oh, I got salmonella and I started vomiting right away, it usually takes about 48 hours for bacteria to grow and proliferate. But when you react quickly, that could be because of a toxin. But the other issue that could have happened is you want to vomit when you see something like that. So if I opened up food and I saw that there was something wrong, I would be like, okay, no, I'm out of here. And you just the thought of it might make you sick. It was an A330 plane, had 227 customers on board. It had departed from Detroit going to Amsterdam. So the flight crew diverted it to New York City. They actually, I think, were already over the Atlantic. Because think about it, when they serve food, it takes a while. Usually food service doesn't happen till well into an hour of the flight. And, because they have to heat everything up and then they have to serve it. And so, unfortunately, the chicken was bad. And people tell me, don't ever eat the chicken or the fish on a flight. Well, they don't offer steak. They don't, it's usually some vegetarian noodle something or meat. And so if you want meat, you usually have to get the meat. Now, I was on an Icelandic air flight, and they served fish, a cod. It was very good. And I ate it, and I didn't get sick. I felt great. But, it's disgusting to think how that happened. So the flight attendants came around each row and asked if everybody was feeling good or sick. That's when she asked the crew about the food issue and was allegedly told that mold was discovered on the chicken. She claims the flight attendants disclosed that both pilots had eaten the meal. And so, interesting that the pilots eat. I thought the pilots get the first class fancy food. Yeah, they're different meals. But then again, if you have contaminated food, you have to assume all the food is contaminated. So hopefully nobody, is severely ill from this. I'm not exactly sure who services Delta in terms of food, but that's not, Now, there was a Delta plane that had to make an emergency landing at JFK in April because an emergency slide fell off the aircraft. This was a Los Angeles-bound Delta Flight 520 was diverted back to JFK Airport at around 8:30 a.m. This was back on April 26th. The plane was an hour into its journey, and then all of a sudden, the alarm went off. Why? Because the slide fell off the aircraft. That's odd. So no injuries were reported there, but we definitely have had a lot of plane issues. And somebody said, well, we're just reporting it more. I don't think so. I think emergency landings usually get the media attention, and something like this where people are served moldy chicken. I always tell you to please check your food. I don't care if you get it from a fast food place you go to, a restaurant you always love. Check it first. I had taken my kids to an IHOP. I was driving them to Disneyland. It was me and the two boys. We were driving to California alone, and I ordered something at IHOP. And when I cut into it, or when my son cut into it, there was some black stuff in there. And it was very thick hair. And then I cut open mine, and we almost threw up. And, we just walked out. They said we didn't have to pay. And they actually said they fired the chef. How that much hair got into the crepe meal. And the funny thing is I haven't been able to go back and order it. Because once you see that, but you have to inspect your food. And people do not want to eat food. That's why maybe prepare your own. I got to prepare our own. I mean, I like to trust other people's food. There should be enough preservatives in there. That's why we put up with all the plastic and the preservatives and the microwaving and the, all the other stuff that we're exposed to, microplastics, because it's supposed to protect the food from this kind of stuff. But our quality assurance, basically, if I could put it in a nutshell, things are half-assed these days. And I'm tired of it. Nothing should be half-assed when it comes to customer safety. Mold is preventable. If the food is prepared right, if the food is stored correctly. So to see this happen, it's ridiculous. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.